The interstellar station Helios Gate floated quietly between two star systems. It was a place of meetings, treaties, and careful words. Many species came here to rebuild trust after years of galactic conflict. Bright halls and curved bridges connected different habitats, each designed for comfort, not beauty. Among the many beings walking through the station was an alien woman named Sayela. She walked slowly, keeping to the edges of the wide corridor. Her people were known for their elegant forms and bright markings. But Sayela was different. Her skin was pale where it should have been vibrant. Her frame was slender, almost fragile by her species' standards. Her eyes held a soft glow, instead of the sharp brilliance her kind admired. Because of this, she was often ignored. Sayela had learned long ago how to move without drawing attention. She knew which paths were quiet, which hours were safest, and how to keep her gaze low. She did not expect kindness anymore. Expectation only led to pain. Today was another gathering day. Representatives from many worlds had arrived to form bonds, partnerships, and cultural ties. Sayela's people believed that such unions showed strength. But strength, to them, looked nothing like her. She stopped near a viewing window and looked out at the stars. They reminded her of distance and silence, things she understood well. Behind her, voices passed. She is here again. Why does she bother? No one will choose her. Sayela closed her eyes. She had heard these words before, spoken softly but never quietly enough. She reminded herself to breathe. Not far away, a new group entered the station, humans. They arrived without ceremony. No glowing armor, no ceremonial robes, just uniforms worn smooth by use. Among them was a human soldier named Ethan Cross. Ethan had served in conflicts far from Earth. He had seen worlds burn and rebuild. He walked with calm confidence. Not because he felt important, but because he had learned to stay steady no matter where he stood. As his team moved through the hall, Ethan noticed something unusual. Someone alone. While others gathered in clusters, speaking eagerly and showing status, a single alien woman stood near the window. She was not begging for attention. She was simply present. Ethan slowed his steps. She looks lonely, one of the soldiers muttered. Ethan did not answer. He watched Sayela for a moment. She did not look weak to him. She looked tired. There was a difference. Without thinking too much, Ethan stepped away from his group. Sayela sensed someone approaching and stiffened. She expected laughter or cold words. Instead, a calm voice spoke. "Mind if I stand here?" She turned, surprised. A human stood beside her. His posture was relaxed. His hands open. His eyes steady. This space is public," she said quietly. "Good," Ethan replied with a small smile. "Then I won't be bothering you." They stood in silence for a few moments. Sayela waited for him to leave. He did not. "What do you see out there?" Ethan asked, nodding toward the stars. Sayela hesitated. No one had asked her that before. "Distance," she said honestly. "And possibility," Ethan nodded. "That's what I see too." She looked at him again. More carefully this time. He did not stare at her differences. He did not look away either. "Why are you speaking to me?" she asked. Ethan considered the question. "Because you're here, and no one should feel invisible in a place built for unity." Her chest tightened. She looked away quickly, afraid he might see something she could not hide. "You will be disappointed," she said. "Others always are." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't come here with expectations." Word of their interaction spread quickly. Some of Sayela's people watched from a distance, confused. A few whispered with concern. "Humans were unpredictable," they said. This attention would not last. Ethan's commander noticed his absence and frowned, but did not call him back. Human doctrine valued observation, and Ethan was clearly observing something important. Over the next few days, Ethan continued to seek Sayela out. He joined her during quiet meals. He walked beside her through the long corridors. He listened more than he spoke. At first, Sayela barely spoke at all, but slowly, she began to open. She told him about her upbringing, how she had trained harder than others just to meet the minimum standards, How she had failed ceremonies meant to define worth. How each rejection made her quieter, smaller. "I am not broken," she said one evening. "But I am unwanted." Ethan's jaw tightened slightly. He understood that feeling too well. "On Earth," he said, "we have people who survive because they don't fit. They see things others miss." Sayla looked at him, unsure. "Why would a warrior value that?" she asked. "Because battles aren't always loud," Ethan replied. "Sometimes they're about endurance." The station soon buzzed with quiet tension. An alien woman rejected by her own kind was spending time with a human soldier. It challenged old beliefs. Some saw it as embarrassing, others as dangerous. Sayla began to feel the weight of attention pressing in from all sides. "You should stop coming," she told Ethan one morning. "They are watching you." Ethan smiled faintly. "They've always watched humans. We learned to live with it. But I will be the one blamed," she said. He met her eyes. "Then I'll stand where they can see me." That simple sentence shook her more than any insult ever had. On the 5th day, the station announced a formal gathering, an opportunity for declarations of partnership. It was expected that those worthy would be presented. Sayla did not plan to attend. She sat alone in her quarters, staring at the floor. There was a knock. She opened the door to find Ethan standing there, dressed in his formal uniform. "You're expected," he said. She laughed softly, without humor. "Not me. I didn't say they expected you," Ethan replied. "I do." Her hands trembled. "Why?" she whispered. Ethan spoke carefully. "Because I see someone who stood through rejection without becoming cruel. Someone who did not harden. That takes strength." Tears burned her eyes, but she did not let them fall. "I have nothing to offer," she said. Ethan shook his head. "You offer truth. And trust. That's more than most." The gathering hall was full when they arrived together. Conversation slowed. Eyes turned. Some shocked. Some angry. Some confused. Sayla felt every stare like weight on her skin. She wanted to run, but Ethan walked beside her, steady and calm. For the first time in her life, she did not walk alone. The hall fell silent as names were called. Declarations made, alliances spoken. Then, unexpectedly, Ethan stepped forward. "I am human soldier Ethan Cross," he said clearly. "And I wish to formally declare interest in Sayla of the Lithari." Gasps rippled through the room. Sayla froze. Her heart pounded. Fear and hope collided inside her. Ethan did not look back. He faced the crowd, unafraid. "She was rejected," he continued. "Not because of weakness, but because she did not fit a narrow image of worth. Humanity learned long ago that such images fail." Murmurs spread. Sayla felt her knees weaken. The council did not respond immediately, but every eye was now on her, and for the first time, she did not feel small. She felt chosen. Voices stayed low. Movements became careful. Even the air felt tense, as if the station itself was listening. Sayla stood frozen beside Ethan, her thoughts racing faster than she could control. She had spent her life avoiding attention, yet now it surrounded her from every direction. The council did not answer that day. Instead, they postponed judgment, citing protocol and review. It was a polite way of saying they were unprepared. Sayla returned to her quarters in silence. Ethan walked with her, matching her slow steps. "You didn't have to do that," she said at last. "I know," Ethan replied. "I wanted to." She stopped and turned toward him. "You don't understand what you started." Ethan met her gaze. "Then help me understand." She struggled for words. "My people will say I used you. Humans will say you made a mistake. Both sides will push back." Ethan nodded. "That happens when something true challenges old habits." She looked down at her hands. "I am afraid." "That's fair," he said gently. "But you don't have to face it alone." For Sayla, those words felt dangerous. Comfort had always been temporary in her life. Hope was something she had trained herself to avoid. The next day, the pressure began. Members of Sayla's species visited her. Some with forced politeness, others with open concern. "You must withdraw," one elder said. This union will shame us. Sayla listened quietly. She had done that her whole life. When they left, her chest felt tight, but something inside her had changed. She no longer felt completely hollow. Across the station, Ethan faced his own challenges. Some human officials questioned his judgment. Others warned him about political consequences. But many soldiers quietly respected his resolve. Humanity had been underestimated too many times to fear disapproval. "You sure about this?" his commander asked. Ethan answered without hesitation. Yes, that certainty spread. Over the following days, Ethan and Sayla continued to meet, though never in secret. They walked openly through the station. Each step felt like a small act of defiance. They talked often. Sayla spoke about her culture, how perfection was praised, how difference was seen as risk. She explained how she had been removed from ceremonial paths early in life. "They said I distracted others," she said one evening. "That my presence caused discomfort." Ethan listened carefully. "On Earth," he said, "we learned that discomfort often means growth." She considered that. "Then why do so many fear it?" "Because growth hurts," Ethan replied. "And not everyone is ready for pain." Their bond deepened not through grand gestures, but through shared silence and honest words. Yet the station's leadership could not ignore the situation forever. A formal summons arrived. Sayla was called before her council to explain herself. She sat alone in the chamber, hands folded, heart racing. The council members looked down from raised seats, their expressions controlled. "You have disrupted balance," the lead counselor said. "Why?" Sayla took a breath. "I did not seek disruption. I only accepted respect when it was offered. By a human," another said sharply. "Yes," Sayla replied. "By a human." They questioned her worth, her intentions, her understanding of tradition. Each question felt like a familiar weight pressing down. Then one counselor asked, "Do you believe you deserve this bond?" Sayla hesitated. The old answer rose easily. "No." But she remembered Ethan standing beside her, unashamed. "I believe," she said slowly, "that no one deserves rejection simply for being different." The chamber fell silent. Meanwhile, tensions between species began to rise. Some feared the bond would set a precedent. Others worried it would expose long-held injustices. Then the station alarm sounded. Not loud, not panicked, but urgent. A systems failure struck the outer ring. Power fluctuations spread rapidly. Automated systems struggled to stabilize life support in multiple habitats. Panic followed. Sayla was rushed out of the council chamber. Ethan found her moments later, his expression focused. "They need help," he said. Now, emergency teams mobilized, but the failure was complex. Alien engineers argued over solutions. Humans attempted manual overrides. Nothing worked fast enough. Sayla watched the chaos unfold. She recognized the system design. She had studied it years ago, but her recommendations had been ignored. She stepped forward hesitantly. "There is another way," she said. No one listened at first. Ethan turned toward her. "What do you see?" She explained quickly how the system could be rerouted through secondary nodes no one used anymore. How it required patience, not force. Ethan repeated her words clearly to the engineers. They tried it. The system stabilized. Lights returned. Air pressure evened out. The alarm faded. Silence followed, then relief. For the first time, those who had dismissed Sayla looked at her with surprise. She had not saved the station with strength or authority, but with insight and calm. Afterward, the council reconvened. This time, the tone was different. "You acted wisely," the lead counselor admitted. "Why were these ideas never shared?" Sayla answered softly. "They were." But no one listened. Ethan stood beside her. "Humanity listens," he said. "That's how we survive." The council requested time to reconsider. As Sayla returned to her quarters, she felt something unfamiliar growing inside her. Confidence. She was still afraid, still uncertain, but she was no longer invisible. That night, she stood again at the viewing window. The stars looked closer now. Ethan joined her. "They saw you today," he said. She nodded. "For the first time. And how does that feel?" She searched for the answer. "Like standing after a long fall." Ethan smiled. Outside, the station drifted on. Changed in ways few yet understood, and at its heart stood a choice no longer whispered, no longer denied. A rejected alien woman had been chosen, not out of pity, but out of belief. Corridors that once echoed with polite distance now carried quiet respect. Sayla noticed the change in small ways. People greeted her instead of looking away. Some even paused to listen when she spoke. It was unfamiliar, almost uncomfortable. She reminded herself to breathe and walk forward. The council had not yet made a final decision about the bond. Their silence carried weight. For Sayla, waiting had always been the hardest part. It brought back memories of standing alone outside ceremonial halls, hoping for approval that never came. Ethan remained steady at her side. "Whatever they decide," he told her one morning, "you already proved who you are." She nodded, though doubt still lingered. Years of rejection did not vanish overnight. Rumors spread through the station. Some said the council feared losing control. Others believed change was finally coming. Humanity's presence made everything more complicated and more honest. A new challenge soon emerged. Long-range sensors detected a drifting structure near the station's outer perimeter. It was old, damaged, and unresponsive. No weapons signatures. No clear identification. Many wanted to ignore it. But Ethan did not like unanswered questions. "That thing didn't survive this long by accident," he said during a briefing. Sayla studied the sensor data quietly. Something about the structure felt familiar. "It is not a threat," she said. "It is forgotten." A recovery team was formed. Against expectation, Sayla was asked to join. The invitation stunned her. "You want me there?" she asked the coordinator. "Yes," they replied. "Your insight is valued." The words felt unreal. The shuttle moved slowly through space toward the drifting structure. Ethan sat across from Sayla, checking systems. She stared through the viewport, her hands folded tight. "You're shaking," Ethan observed gently. "I have never been chosen for a mission before," she admitted. He smiled. "Then we'll make this one count." The structure turned out to be an abandoned research station from an old alliance, one that had collapsed long before Sayla was born. Inside, power was unstable, corridors dark, systems failing. The team moved carefully. Sayla recognized markings on the walls. Her people had once contributed to this station's design, but later denied involvement after its failure. "They erased it," she whispered. "And everyone inside." The team found evidence of that erasure: logs hidden, data sealed, lives forgotten. Sayla's chest tightened. She realized something painful. This station had been abandoned because it did not meet standards. Just like her. While others debated what to report, Sayla quietly accessed a damaged archive. Her hands moved with certainty. This was what she had trained for long ago. Before being dismissed, she restored the logs. The truth surfaced. The station had been studying long-term cooperation between species, focusing on those deemed unsuitable elsewhere. The project failed, not because of incompetence, but because it challenged accepted norms. The council's past decisions were now exposed. When the team returned, the revelation sent shockwaves through the station. The council convened in full assembly. Sayla was asked to speak not as a subject, but as a witness. She stood in the center of the chamber, heart pounding, eyes steady. "My people believed perfection ensured survival," she said. "But it was difference that carried knowledge forward. That station was abandoned because it did not reflect our pride." Murmurs filled the hall. Ethan spoke next. "Humanity survived because we kept those others discarded. We learned from them." The council could no longer deny the truth. What followed was not anger, but reflection. For the first time, Sayla saw hesitation in their certainty. After the assembly, Sayla felt drained. She retreated to a quiet observation deck. her thoughts heavy. "I never meant to challenge them," she said softly to Ethan. "You didn't," he replied. "You told the truth. They're the ones who have to face it." 8. She looked at him. "Why are humans like this?" He considered the question. "Because we lost too much, pretending we were perfect." Days passed. The council delayed their decision again, but this time, the tone had changed. Delegates from other species voiced support. Some even apologized for past silence. Sayla struggled to accept their words. Healing was slower than recognition. One evening, Ethan handed her a small object, a simple human insignia. "It's worn by soldiers who protect others," he said. "Not because they're strong, but because they choose to stand." She held it carefully. "Why give this to me?" "Because you already do." The final council session arrived. The chamber was full. Sayla stood tall, no longer hiding her posture. Ethan remained at her side, silent but present. The lead counselor rose. "Our judgment was shaped by fear," they admitted. "We mistook difference for danger." Sayla listened, heart steady. "The bond request between Sayela and human soldier Ethan Cross is approved," the council announced. Not as exception, but as recognition. Relief swept through the hall. Sayla did not cry. Instead, she breathed deeply. She felt something settle inside her peace, earned through truth. Later, as the station lights dimmed to rest cycle, Sayela stood once more at the window. The stars no longer felt distant. Ethan joined her, as he always did. "I was rejected," she said quietly. "But I am not unwanted." Ethan smiled. "Not anymore." Outside, the station drifted forward, carrying a new understanding with it. The quiet had become strong, and the future waited. The station awoke slowly after the council's decision. Lights brightened in gentle waves. Corridors filled with quiet movement instead of tension. For the first time since Sayla had arrived at Helios Gate, the air felt light. She noticed it immediately. People no longer avoided her path. Some nodded in greeting. Others offered brief words of respect. None of it felt loud or forced. It felt real. Sayla walked beside Ethan, still adjusting to the weight of acceptance. It was not pride she felt, but calm. A calm she had never known before. "You don't have to rush," Ethan said when he noticed her slow steps. "I know," she replied softly. "I just want to remember this feeling." The bond approval changed more than rules. It changed conversations. Delegates from other species requested Sayla's insight. Young members of her own people approached her carefully, asking questions they had once been afraid to ask. Some admitted they, too, felt different. Sayla listened. She answered honestly. "You are not broken," she told them. "You were simply unheard." Ethan watched these moments quietly. He did not interrupt. He understood that this was her victory, not his. Preparations began for the formal bonding ceremony. It would be simple by design, no grand display. No pressure to perform perfection. Just acknowledgement. Sayla's people struggled with that simplicity at first. Tradition demanded spectacle, status, control. But Sayla requested something else. "I want truth," she said. "Not decoration." The council agreed. On the day of the ceremony, the station's central garden was chosen. Living plants from many worlds grew there, sharing light and water without conflict. Sayla stood among them, wearing attire that reflected who she was, not what others wanted her to be. Her colors were softer than tradition demanded, but they felt right. Ethan stood across from her, his uniform unadorned. No medals, no rank symbols, just a human who had chosen. As witnesses gathered, Sayla felt a flicker of old fear. Her hands trembled. Ethan noticed. He did not speak. He simply stood steady. The officiator spoke briefly, recognizing the bond not as a contract, but as mutual choice. When it was Sayla's turn to speak, her voice was quiet but clear. "I was taught that worth must be earned by fitting in," she said. "I spent my life trying to become smaller, so others would accept me." She paused, then lifted her head. "I learned that survival does not come from sameness. It comes from standing together." Ethan spoke next. "Humanity survived because we chose compassion when strength alone failed." I choose Sayela not because she was rejected but because she endured without losing kindness. The bond was sealed without spectacle, but the meaning echoed through the station. Afterward, Sayela felt something unexpected: relief. No waiting. No judgment left to fear. Later that day, the council invited Sayela to accept a new role, not symbolic, but real. They asked her to lead an initiative focused on inclusive cooperation. On listening to voices once ignored, she accepted with conditions. "No one is erased," she said. Not again. Change did not come instantly. It came slowly, carefully. But it came. The abandoned research station's data was restored. Its mission resumed under a new name. Sayela helped guide it not from authority, but from experience. Ethan prepared for his next assignment. He had been offered advancement, but he declined. "I'm needed elsewhere," he told his commander. The commander understood. As departure day approached, Sayela stood once more at the viewing window. The stars no longer felt cold. They felt open. "You could stay," Ethan said quietly. "They value you here." "I know," Sayela replied. "But I want to see what comes next." They boarded a small human vessel, not large, not impressive, but reliable. It carried supplies, research equipment, and possibility. As Helios Gate faded into the distance, Sayela felt no sadness, only gratitude. For the first time in her life, she was leaving not because she was unwanted but because she was free. Ethan set the course. "Anywhere you want to go," he said. Sayela thought for a moment. "Let's find places that still listen to silence," she said. "There are others like me." Ethan smiled. "Then that's where we'll go." The ship moved forward, cutting cleanly through the stars. Behind them, the station continued to change. Stories spread not of scandal, but of courage. Of a rejected alien woman who stood tall. Of a human who chose compassion without hesitation. Humanity's legacy was not written in conquest or command. It was written in moments like this. In choosing the one left behind. In standing beside the quiet. In proving that strength could be gentle and still unbreakable. Sayela rested her hand against the viewport. She was no longer alone. She never would be again.